northern extremes, predator and prey are in a constant battle for survival. Fearsome killers, protective mothers, silent hunters, skilled trackers. One thing is certain. No matter what the season, deadly dangers are everywhere. The Arctic, a frozen and hostile environment, yet home to the largest land predator on Earth, the polar bear. A full-sized male can weigh half a ton and stand 8 feet tall on his back legs. They prowl the sea ice, sniffing out seal pups hidden under the snow. Most escape. Only 1 in 20 hunts are successful. But this mother has beaten the odds. Her cubs will eat for days. Polar bears target bigger animals too. A group of beluga whales has become trapped in the sea ice. They must surface frequently for air, and that puts them within the polar bear's reach. Most of the time, they escape with only a few scars. But every now and then, a polar bear hits the jackpot and grabs himself a 12-foot whale and enough food for weeks. The polar bear's kingdom of sea ice doesn't last forever. Every summer, the Arctic undergoes one of the most dramatic transformations of any environment on Earth. As their icy hunting grounds disappear, polar bears are forced to seek new food sources. Luckily, they're excellent swimmers and can cover 100 miles or more at a time. Walruses have gathered in huge numbers on a rocky beach to breed. Their pungent smell and constant noise attract a polar bear that's made it to dry land. Any one of these huge beasts would last the hungry bear for days. But walruses are not easy prey. They're armed with 3-foot-long tusks that serve as deadly defensive weapons, and their skin is incredibly tough and thick. Even the bear's powerful jaws and claws struggle to penetrate this natural armor. The bear's only chance is to grab a young walrus. But they're protected by a living wall of adults. Not one to give up, the bear successfully separates one from the group, and it makes its kill. But not all bears are as lucky. This bear fails in its hunt, and it's been badly wounded. Unable to search for food, it will starve to death. In this hostile frozen world, even the largest land predator on Earth struggles to survive. But the Arctic is vast, and polar bears nose around all of it in search of a nice fatty meal. The bear's nose is so good and its appetite so enormous that it can detect a seal pup 3 feet under the ice from over half a mile away. A young seal like this is up to 75% fat. For the calorie-craving bear, that's like a living, breathing cheesecake. Success. Polar bears can consume 200 pounds of food in a single sitting. In this harsh climate, it pays to be a glutton. The next meal may be days away. The polar bear's nose and ears tell it a pod of beluga whales is trapped in the sea ice. The polar bear can't resist. It uses its teeth and claws again and again. Eventually, the beluga's injuries become too severe, and the Arctic king wins its royal prize. As the ice melts in the spring, the big bear's talent for swimming is on full display. Polar bears have been recorded swimming nearly 10 days straight. One bear was so driven by its stomach, it even traveled a staggering 426 miles. But sometimes, a polar bear's eyes are bigger than its stomach. Here, the air is thick with the smell of walrus. Lots of walrus. At up to 1.5 tons, the big bulls are way more than a mouthful, and fully capable of killing the bear with their large tusks. But that doesn't deter this voracious predator, especially since the calves are just the right size. It's a meal big enough to satisfy the giant bear, at least for a while. Polar bears prove that the best way to remain the top predator in the Arctic is to eat. Eat, and eat some more. But it's not just white bears that stalk the north. The grizzly bear is widely known as one of the most massive and ferocious predators in the natural world. It may also have one of the most powerful senses of smell on Earth. The scent-detecting area of a grizzly's nose is 100 times larger than a human's. And it bristles with over 1 billion receptor cells, connected to over 10 million nerve cells, sending scent-powered shockwaves to the brain. It is believed that these bears can smell other bears, trash, or even a rotting animal's carcass in the lean days of winter, from more than a mile away. It's that super-powered nose that keeps the grizzly bear alive when a good meal is harder to come by. Elk are an occasional meal. It's just a matter of time before the young elk slips up. The chase yields an important meal for this grizzly bear family. Something that can be even harder to come by in the leanest days of the grizzly bear life cycle, thanks to one of the strongest noses on the planet. For a grizzly bear cub, the lessons start at day one. And the best teacher is Mom. Late spring in Yellowstone Park. At this time of year, elk calves are all around. Newborn calves follow their mothers around intently, learning what they need to know to survive. For grizzly bears, it's dinner time. And the sight of a vulnerable young calf is hard to resist. When she gets lucky and close enough to a calf, she can take off in a quick burst and chase it down. And it's another lesson for our cubs. Grizzly bears can and will eat just about anything. Most of their diet isn't even meat. They've developed grinding teeth in the back to chew tough plants, long claws to dig up insects and roots, and even shellfish. A grizzly is on the prowl constantly, searching for any food. Digging, grazing, scavenging. A strong stomach is just part of what makes this bear an apex predator. Size is a factor. This grizzly is almost 1,000 pounds. And where fish is plentiful, grizzlies grow even larger. When the salmon return to spawn, they fill the rivers and provide a fat, rich bounty for bears. Young and old, they all gather to fish. The biggest claim the best spots and use their bulk and mean tempers to steal what they don't catch. Farther inland, the bear has to develop other hunting strategies. Today, bison could be on the menu. They're twice the size of an average bear. No easy takedown. But where there are bison babies. The key is to separate the calf from its mother. A bear attack is all about speed and power. And when it comes to defending their young, these bears can be formidable. Mama bears are the toughest and hungriest grizzlies. They wake up in the spring leaner, meaner, and hungrier than the males. They give birth while they're hibernating, and last year's cubs are still around. They nursed while she slept, sucking up valuable calories. Now, the mothers have extra mouths to feed, when it's hard enough to feed themselves. They eat 80 to 90 pounds of food a day in the summer and fall to get ready for the next hibernation, plus feed their cubs. That turns a female bear into a hunting machine. Denali National Park, south of the Arctic Circle. A mother grizzly decides this caribou will be her family's next meal. She doesn't have to bother with any special fighting techniques. She can drown the caribou with just her upper body strength. A mama grizzly's job is more than just feeding her cubs. She also has to defend them from other predators. Except for mother and cubs, grizzlies are solitary, and danger is all around them. Only 1/3 of cubs make it through their first year. Wolves are a big reason why. For a 100-pound wolf, a bear cub is a feast. But not today. A motion sensor camera in Glacier National Park catches a wolf invading a grizzly family's personal space. It could be a fatal mistake. After hibernating all winter, male bears come out of their dens and want to mate within weeks. Unfortunately for them, females are usually not in the mood when they already have cubs, taking them out of the mating game for a couple of years. What's a frustrated male to do? Kill those pesky cubs. This mama grizzly isn't taking any chances when she spots an incoming male. That's gotta hurt. When she's sure he's gotten the message, she leads her family away. Male grizzlies don't just go after cubs when they're in a mating mood. They even compete with youngsters for food. hungry male follows his sensitive nose towards his main goal in life, chowing down. As he gets closer, he sees 3 cubs munching on meat that he thinks should be his. There's only one way to handle this: get rid of the cubs and steal the food. There's just one problem. To reach the carcass, he's got to get past Mama. By the time she's finished with him, he's ready to walk away. Or is he? Mama Grizzly has made her point. He is not invited to this family dinner. But when Mama and her cubs are full, the male grizzly can pick over the carcass. Bears eat pretty much everything in nature. But the gentle-looking moose fills up exclusively on the plants in the northern forests. The two animals do have a few things in common. Grizzlies and moose both live alone, but have their young live with them for roughly 2 years, and both are aggressive mothers. In Denali National Park, a mother moose with 2 calves is on the alert for danger. This grizzly smells prime prey, 2 moose calves. The odds aren't in the moose's favor. Nearly half of all calves are killed in the first 6 weeks. This moose mom is going to try to beat those odds. The bear may be fierce, but it knows it's outsized. She wins this round, but the danger isn't over. While the mother can outrun the grizzly, her babies could never keep up. When she charges this time, the calves are right behind her. She knows odds are it's going to track them down again. She leads her family into the river to finally throw the grizzly off their trail. They're safe for now, but bears are not the only threat to a moose calf. Other predators lurk, like this gray wolf. Unlike the grizzly, wolves do not hunt alone. A tour bus driver captures a wolf attack on a small moose calf. It maneuvers in between the calf and the mother. One wolf doesn't stand a chance against her big, sharp hooves. But the first wolf is just a diversion. The rest of the pack moves in as a group. Then, it's over. Despite her heroic efforts, this moose mom was no match for a hungry pack of wolves. Wolves hunt in packs of 6 to 10 animals. That's a lot of mouths to feed, especially when each mouth can down 20 pounds of meat per meal. So how do they fuel those massive appetites? By killing everything. Small game just won't cut it. Wolves will work together to take down prey up to 10 times their own size. On today's menu, bison. As if guided by one mind, the wolves close in from all sides, scoping out the youngest and weakest potential targets. Then, the killer lupines whip the herd into a frenzy. The first to fall prey is a young calf. Just an appetizer. The other half of the pack drives a weak old-timer into the river. And now, it's time for some waterside dining. Each animal is constantly on the lookout for an opportunity to feed. But the lean winter months can put kinship to the test. When packmates succumb to the elements and prey is practically non-existent, wolves have been known to take the concept of family feast to its most gruesome extreme. It just goes to show, when it comes to feeding the beast, wolves are at the top of the food chain. Or are they? Its Latin name is gulo gulo, meaning glutton. Native Americans call it the evil spirit. Both are accurate when describing the ravenous scourge of the North American and European tundra, the wolverine. Though small in stature, it's the largest of the weasel family, with a bear-sized appetite. Both scavenger and predator, when it comes to food, this loner will fight any foe of any size. Even this much larger brown bear. The hungry little powerhouse has to be tenacious. It doesn't have the speed of much of its prey. But it won't stop the chase until it gets its meal. And whatever it can't eat in one sitting, it carries off to hide in a food cache, even if the carcass is 5 times the wolverine's weight. With razor-sharp claws and special molars angled backwards at 90 degrees, the wolverine is armed and ready for the tough game of northern winters. And while it doesn't hunt in groups, like many other wolf-like predators, wolverines are perfectly willing to take on a hungry pack. These wolves don't realize it, but their latest kill isn't for them. They did the dirty work, and the wolverine is coming to collect. One wolverine versus a pack of wolves. And incredibly, it's not even close. Looks like there's a new leader of the pack, and he's one hungry alpha dog. But in the north, danger isn't just on the ground. Death can also come from above. This predator's weapon? Super hearing. The great gray owl lives in the Arctic, where even in summer, its meal can be buried under inches of snow. To hunt, it locates its favorite prey, mice and other small rodents. by listening for movement far below. The feathers surrounding each eye function like a dish antenna, directing sound to the ears. Each ear receives sound at a slightly different volume and angle, which allows the owl to pinpoint where the sound comes from. It focuses on unsuspecting prey, as much as 2 feet beneath the snow, and sets off on the attack. The owl continues to listen throughout the approach. To finish the job, owls have become masters of the dive bomb. Super hearing will ensure this owl a full stomach tonight. And tomorrow, the listening will continue. The kings of the north have to be careful, or they may just lose their hard-won meal. The Arctic tundra, where temperatures dive to 58 degrees below zero and winds scream across the treeless plateau. In this harsh climate, even the ultra-cunning struggle to survive. This is the world of a mighty predator called the Arctic fox. Small but skilled, he is barely a foot tall. His thick fur and jumbo tail provide the ultimate blanket. In the winter, when prey is scarce, this crafty fox takes a monumental risk. He stalks one of the planet's largest land predators, the polar bear. Not to kill, but to steal the bear's leftovers. His white fur camo helps make the fox almost invisible to this 900-pound killer. The fox keeps his distance and waits. And when the time is right, it's a strategy that works all winter long. But when summer comes and the snow melts, the fox transforms. His new gray and brown pelt perfectly blends into the tundra's rocks and cliffs. And with his new look comes a new strategy. No longer a scavenger, the fox is now a cunning hunter as he stalks one of his favorite targets: seabirds on rocks and land. No more leftovers for this sly fox. For our guy to survive, he has to change with the seasons. Behold, North America's Purple Mountain's majesty. Here lives a dignified and imperial animal. a majestic symbol of nobility, strength, and bravery. But he's not always the most upstanding citizen. In fact, the bald eagle is a fierce feathered thief. He sticks close to open water. Requiring up to a pound of food a day, he's hunting for fish, but not always in the water. Using eyesight 8 times better than that of human beings, our eagle keys in on a target with one task in mind: to steal this rival's food. And so he takes off. A storm of eagles join in on the action. It's an aerial battle of kings, forcing one of his rivals to drop his catch. The champion swoops in, fending off the others. A successful pickpocket and a full-course meal for this stately bandit. But beware, the animals of the north aren't just deadly to each other. In Alaska, the gentle-looking moose is responsible for injuring more people than bears. For these riders, a normal day on the trail leads to a dangerous and unexpected run-in. Now the bikers can see why this moose is so upset. A calf is following her in the distance. Moose tend to be more aggressive when they are protecting their young. They survive their close call, but not everyone is so lucky. In winter, vegetation is scarce, and moose start foraging for food anywhere they can find it. On this day, a man walking on campus of the University of Alaska in Anchorage inadvertently walks too close to a hungry moose and her calf. The mother reacts with deadly force. Tragically, he did not survive the attack. Many accidental encounters with the wild are due to over-enthusiastic tourists. Yellowstone National Park attracts millions of visitors who want to see animals in their natural habitat. Herds of bison, symbolic of the Old West, are especially popular. Hunted nearly to extinction, they have good reason to be wary of humans.
Here comes the park, guys.
Officials warn people to stay 25 feet away from the bison, but some people just don't get the message. And that's when a photo op can become deadly.
Stupid girls are approaching it. A bison can run up to 30 miles an hour and gore you to death, so... Oh yeah, there you go.
Many people have been killed and injured by charging bison at Yellowstone. These sightseers were lucky.
Okay, so we're in the park, and there's a buffalo. And he's just wandering across the road.
Things didn't go so well for a wife while trying to get some vacation video of her husband.
Taking his sweet time. We'll get a shot of Donald getting gored by the buffalo.
Amazingly, she holds on to the camera as she's knocked down and trampled. Most people don't know that 3 times as many people have been attacked by bison as by bears. The woman was badly hurt, but got away, along with her husband and her life. Civilization and foraging bears come closer together all the time. A busload of tourists were looking for bears when a bear came looking for them.
Holy moly, guys.
Polar bears are even entering residential neighborhoods. A homeowner heard his dog barking and got the shock of his life when he looked out the window. Polar bears have developed a taste for human trash, making them a menace at the town dump and increasing their odds of running into a human. People are a poor substitute for seals, but a starving, desperate polar bear is a walking, killing machine. This wildlife photographer and his Inuit guide were documenting the plight of the polar bear when they were attacked. He had to drop his camera to rescue his guide. Miraculously, both men survived this encounter and were able to drive the bear off without harming it. When living in the north, animals and humans must be on guard against some of the most formidable predators on Earth. The open ocean. Captivating. Mysterious. And totally deadly. Infamous. Or unexpected. These marine predators deal out a one-way ticket to Davy Jones' locker. Some coastal hunters keep it simple, with a bite that sends their prey sleeping with the fishes. And when it comes to deadly chompers, sharks are at the top of the list. One species in particular is known to eat just about anything that comes their way. No, not the great white. It's the tiger shark. At its largest, a tiger shark is 25 feet of fins, teeth, and stomach. And this underwater garbage disposal will take a bite out of most anything. Thankfully, for these daring divers, attacks on humans are extremely rare. But then maybe they should be more worried about their camera gear. Ever wondered what it would look like to get eaten by a shark? Like this. Only with a little more blood. The list of inedible items found in tiger sharks' guts includes license plates, oil cans, a fur coat, even a suit of armor. But when they're not going medieval on inanimate objects, tiger sharks do like a little protein in their diet. Like a Wild West roundup, these tiger sharks corral a school of sardines into one giant spinning mass of easy pickings. But if there's one food these rapacious predators really seem to crave, it's albatross. Specifically, fledgling albatross that have yet to learn how to fly. Every year, tiger sharks turn these Central Pacific shallows into a seaside snack bar. Slaughterhouse might be a more accurate term. The feast can last for days. And while there's only so many fledglings to eat, for this marine omnivore, the ocean is an open buffet. A covert hunter stalks oceans around the globe. Its victims vanish without a trace. Here one moment, gone the next. The assassin, the notorious stargazer. A fish with a super fast death chomp. And a mug only Mother Nature could love. The stargazer's MO is simple, yet cunning. It buries the bulk of its body in the silt, where it waits to ambush prey. Only the stargazer's face remains visible, and at a glance resembles rock or coral. A closer look reveals beady, top-mounted eyes and an upward-facing mouth. The better to see its victims with and suck them into instant oblivion. This stargazer was recorded at 50 frames per second. When slowed down, its entire strike takes just 1, 2, 3 frames, a blistering 60 milliseconds. And being big doesn't mean you're safe, as each stargazer is armed with 2 spines that inject painful venom. For some members of the species, those spines also deliver 50-volt electric jolts, making these venomous villains literally as fast as lightning. Bottom dwellers beware. The shockingly fast stargazer is built to deliver pain and death in a single bite. The watery Eden of the Barrier Reef is home to venomous serpents that have given up living on land and become deadly aquatic predators. Sea snakes. They cruise the reef using their paddle-like tail. Sea snakes are visual hunters, but can also smell their prey underwater using their tongue. This small fish has nowhere to hide. It's cornered itself in a crevice in the coral. Talk about a dead end. Sea snakes have retained the venom glands and wicked fangs of their landlubber ancestors. With one bite, the venom paralyzes the helpless fish, and the snake begins to swallow it whole. But sea snakes have one weakness in their armory. Despite living underwater, they're still air breathers and must surface to top off their oxygen supply. A white-bellied sea eagle is on patrol. And a tired sea snake coming up for air is a perfect victim. The eagle launches a devastating dive. With pinpoint accuracy, it snatches the snake from the water. But the deadly sea serpent is not going down without a fight. One bite could kill. The eagle juggles the sea snake as it lashes out in final defiance. She carries it back to her nest and delivers a deadly bite of her own. Regardless of size, all sharks deserve respect. Even this one, a 3-foot shark known as the dogfish. Today, he's after a soft, squishy snack. A giant Pacific octopus, the largest of its kind in the world. The boneless beast manages to escape the shark's lethal attention by emitting a concealing cloud of ink. The octopus has another secret weapon. Specialized skin cells enable it to change both color and texture and vanish into its surroundings. It uses this trick to catch dinner. Round 2, another dogfish, another giant octopus. As the hungry shark swims by, this octopus takes the offensive. The dogfish is enveloped in 8 suction cup-lined arms, and predator becomes prey. The octopus has one last secret weapon. Hidden among the folds, a parrot-like beak delivers paralyzing venom. Unable to swim and pass water through its gills, the dogfish drowns. The 8-armed fighter is victorious. A horde of sea lions gathers for a blubber battle. Sea lions spend a lot of time in the water, swimming up to 25 miles per hour. But once a year, these 1-ton beasts come ashore to mate. Roaring, hissing, and biting, the males mark their territory on remote islands called rookeries. Once they have their spot, the females arrive, and the pressure mounts. The bulls often become aggressive in an effort to mate with as many females as they can. Crushing and bloodying rivals, a sea lion will fight for his rookery. When this one tries to hone in on another's harem, it's a battle of strength and teeth. Sparing him his life, the stronger sea lion shoves his foe out to sea. spring-loaded claws, toxic spines, and electric sensors. These sea soldiers are combat ready. This seemingly quiet oasis is home to one of the loudest and fastest guns in the sea. The notorious pistol shrimp. Each inch-long crustacean comes equipped with a specialized claw, half its body length, giving new meaning to the term packing heat. A hungry pistol shrimp holes up in its burrow and waits for prey to wander in range. This time, it's an unsuspecting crab. The bandit edges out of its hideout, sneaking up from behind. It's over in 300 microseconds. The pistol shrimp's claw snaps shut at such a high speed, it shoots a superheated bubble at over 60 miles an hour. It creates a similar shockwave to an actual pistol shot. But in this case, the bubble implodes, and for an instant, reaches a staggering 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Guess what else is that hot? The surface of the sun. The implosion registers an ear-splitting 218 decibels. As loud as the sonic boom of an F-18. With that much power locked and loaded into one appendage, small prey like this banded shrimp don't stand a chance. The shockwave instantly neutralizes the target. He's not walking that off. In the water, sea lions are elite and efficient predators. Armed with torpedo-like bodies and fearsome canine teeth. Off the coast of Mexico, these hunters think they've stumbled onto a quick meal. A little fish called a porcupine fish. Looks like an easy target. Not so fast. This fish is about to show just how he got his name. He quickly ingests water and inflates into a spiky ball several times his normal size. Now, he's almost impossible to catch and potentially lethal. Deep inside his organs, there is a poison called tetrodotoxin, 1,200 times more deadly than cyanide. For the sea lions, this easy meal has turned into a dangerous game they don't want to play. The porcupine fish escapes and deflates. Tiptoeing across the ocean bottom is a heavily armored soldier. A loner, he tends to keep to himself, scavenging ocean waters. But on occasion, he joins thousands of other spider crabs off the coast of Australia to mate and to molt. Nearby, an enemy is lurking. Behold the smooth stingray. Outfitted with a frightening serrated spine, or barb, he can produce venom and kill a human with just one slice. Using his sand-colored coat as camouflage, he glides along the seafloor to avoid its few predators. But hiding isn't what the stingray is about. This is a skilled hunter, armed with electrical sensors around his mouth to find prey. He hovers over the crabs as they attempt to make an escape. But this spider crab army is no match for a smooth stingray. In a sea of deadly foes, packing heavy artillery can be the difference between eating lunch and being lunch. Like something out of a sci-fi movie, the mantis shrimp is so alien-looking that if you add some special effects, he turns into a robot of the future. And if you're a fish, he doesn't come in peace. He spends a lot of time buried in the sand, with only his eyes visible, two high-tech tools that produce the most advanced vision in the world. The shrimp can detect infrared, ultraviolet, and polarized light. His incredible eyesight acts as a deadly scope for this shrimp's lightning-fast weaponry. Transforming into a turbocharged bayonet, the shrimp fires out two dagger-like claws. Six razor-sharp spines line each killer claw, ensnaring the fish in a world of hurt. Amazingly, this shrimp anatomy isn't relying on any sort of catapult mechanism, but pure muscle. The mantis shrimp is small, but it is mighty, and it's always watching. A tropical coral reef is a bustling hub of undersea life. Hermit crabs move into empty shells and carry their own safe house on their backs. The portable panic room is enough to keep many predators at bay. But not all. The octopus, with its 8 nimble arms and brain built for problem solving, rips the crab from its shell with ease. Faced with an enemy like this, hermit crabs could use a security upgrade. Sea anemones catch and kill their prey with stinging tentacles. But some animals have figured out how to use them for their own protection. The clownfish finds a safe haven among the tentacles, thanks to a layer of protective mucus. Some hermit crabs have taken this strategy a step further. This clever crab carefully detaches the venomous anemone from the rock and transplants it onto its shell. When the hungry octopus strikes again, the crab's new bodyguards give it an armful of painful stings, and it quickly retreats to find an easier meal. The unharmed hermit crab struts off with its new security team still riding on its back. When it comes to lone gunmen, fish seem to be the least likely suspects. Between the slime, the scales, and no arms, it would seem impossible that a fish could be a skilled sharpshooter. That's where you'd be wrong. Found in brackish waters, mangroves, and estuaries, the archerfish mainly feeds on plankton and underwater prey. But sometimes he sets his sights on an insect above the water. Swimming undetected just under the surface, the archerfish's highly acute eyesight allows him to locate prey above the water. This grasshopper has no idea that he's about to be the victim of a swim-by shooting. By pressing his tongue against a specialized groove in his mouth, the archerfish draws water in. And creates a water cannon. The shot can extend up to 5 feet. And is used when other means of foraging have failed. A marine marksman. The archerfish swims on, always locked and loaded. The sea provides plenty of places to hide. Sometimes in plain sight. This remarkable 8-legged sea creature takes the art of disguise one step further. He's a mimic octopus, and his deceptive abilities are legendary. With no bones, no spine, and no poison, the mimic octopus is an appetizing meal for small sharks and barracuda. But looks can be deceiving. And that's what he's counting on. A true mimic, he doesn't just morph to match his surroundings. He actually impersonates poisonous predators to scare away attackers. When this mutant initiates his transformation, predators do what they can to avoid him. This eel is getting close. No problem. Initiate banded sea crate. 10 times more venomous than a rattlesnake. If a shark gets too close, initiate peacock sole. A poisonous flatfish thought to release a defensive secretion that has shark repellent properties. By changing color and shape, he imitates the venomous barbs of a lionfish. And whatever he's mimicking here, it's enough to stop this attacking crab in his tracks. In all, this octopus is known to replicate more than 15 different species. If predators looked past the charades, they'd find a tasty meal. For now, this phony has them fooled. This frilly mess of a fish doesn't exactly fill you with dread. But if you're a fish, it should. The tasseled wobbegong shark runs one of the biggest cons in the ocean. With a flattened body and spotted skin, the tasseled wobbegong is covered in rug-like blankets of fringe. These dense tassels are actually complex layers of dermal lobes. It's a critical player in his deadly game. The clever camouflage eerily replicates coral reefs. Almost invisible, the shark hides among rocks, lying in wait. When unsuspecting fish swim by, the wily predator launches an ambush. And here's where the shark family resemblance kicks in. It pulls its jaws apart and sucks the prey into its mouth. 5 rows of fang-like teeth finish the job. Mealtime with the tasseled wobbegong is a no-frills affair. This is a cuttlefish. And if you're having a hard time finding it, that's by design. A master of self-protection. When this guy senses danger, he blends and disappears. In all, he's able to create millions of color variations in mere seconds, which works out great when hiding and is spectacular when hunting. Unlike the ambush hunters of the world, when the cuttlefish stalks fishy prey, he wants to be noticed. Color, activate. The hypnotized fish stop in their tracks, just long enough for the cuttlefish to close in and devour. This incredible light show comes from the cuttlefish's skin, which has 1 million color cells. By turning different ones on and off, the cuttlefish can create endless colors and patterns, which means this Technicolor nightmare has infinite ways to mesmerize and slay. Dolphins are known for their intelligence and amazing water acrobatics. But before they took their talents to sea, dolphins were land animals. About 50 million years ago, their terrestrial ancestors changed sides and became fully aquatic. These marine mammals never returned to land in their whole lives. Well, almost never. There are some groups that revisit the realm of their ancestors. These dolphins hunt on land. At low tide in this shallow Carolina Creek, dorsal fins cut the surface. Not sharks, a pod of bottlenose dolphins, known as the Seabrook Island Gang. Don't be fooled by the big smiles. Dolphins are ruthless predators, and their big brains mean they've figured out some incredible ways of catching their prey. Schools of fish have nowhere to hide. The gang lines up in attack formation, herding their prey towards the shoreline. They create a bow wave that washes the fish onto the sand. Then, the dolphins follow them. It's a risky but rewarding maneuver for an 8-foot-long animal. If they get it wrong, they could be stranded permanently and die. But when it's executed correctly, there's a feast to be had. It's a coordinated amphibious assault, as these ingenious marine mammals leave the safety of the water to hunt on the land, just as their ancestors did 50 million years ago. In the shallow tropical seas of Indonesia, large predators like sharks cruise the reef, forcing smaller fish to hide or camouflage themselves so they can't be seen. But even small fish aren't scared of a piece of sponge. They don't notice that it's slowly creeping towards them, or that it has eyes. Too late, little fish. You've just become another victim of the dreaded hairy frogfish. Hairy frogfish are concentrated lumps of ugly. Instead of swimming, they usually walk along the bottom on their stubby fins. When it's in hunting mode, the frogfish gives an Oscar-worthy performance and acts like a piece of seafloor debris. As well as a perfect disguise and a generally bad attitude towards other life forms, This killer in paradise has another trick to play. One of the spines on its back has evolved into a bizarre appendage. It looks like a worm, and the hairy frogfish uses its natural fishing rod and bait to fish for innocent victims. It wiggles its lure temptingly, drawing an unsuspecting fish closer and closer. Until it's within striking distance. When it comes to fishing in these tropical waters, the hairy frogfish is a natural champion. More than 70% of the Earth's surface is ocean, and its enormous size makes it the best home for the largest creatures that have ever lived. In a sea of giants, the best thing to do is stay out of their way. On an isolated beach near the southern end of South America, a monster comes ashore. A fully grown male southern elephant seal. The largest seal on our planet. 20 feet and 4 tons of bad-tempered blubber. He's getting ready to battle for supremacy. The top male on the beach will get to mate with a harem of females and father most of the colony's pups. But first, he will have to fight and win against other enormous males with the same goal. The elephant seals use their weird inflatable trunks to bellow out battle cries. If this doesn't scare the challenger off, then the alpha male must attack. They duke it out, slamming 8 tons of flesh together, slashing each other with long, sharp canine teeth. After a quick and brutal bout, the challenger retreats. But the harem master's work is never done. Another contender has come for his throne. Today, more blood will flow. Long live the king of the beach. Thousands of miles north on the beaches of California and Mexico, tens of thousands of northern elephant seals return to breed. Males spend weeks battling while they wait for the females to arrive. But here, their biggest threat isn't one of their own. This elephant seal was lucky to survive its encounter with an infamous predator swimming just off the beach. Another young female is all by herself in dangerous waters. A sinister and enormous huntress is also heading for the beach. A great white shark. Only full-grown great whites will tackle an elephant seal. This female shark is 12 years old, 15 feet long, and weighs almost a ton. Her victim is young and naive and has no idea she's being stalked. The shark hits the unsuspecting seal from below and behind. One strike is lethal. The shark takes her time, letting the seal bleed out. And then returns to claim her meal. Another great white joins the feast. All that remains is a crimson tide. They're one of the deadliest animals in the ocean, but sometimes even a shark isn't safe. Off the coast of Costa Rica, a tiger shark cruises just below the surface. This is his normal hunting ground, but once in a while, uninvited guests show up. Orcas can grow to almost the length of a school bus and are highly intelligent. This is a pod of transients who are looking for lunch. They don't hesitate in taking on the 7-foot shark. The brainy whales work together to flip the shark upside down. In this position, the shark slips into a zombie-like state called tonic immobility. It can't even bite back when the whales tear into it. And just like that, this ocean terror is seafood. It's an average day in Antarctica for these penguins. Flapping, marching, and resting in the sub-zero temperature. But what these penguins don't know is they're being stalked. Underneath the ice, a massive predator waits for the penguins to make the wrong move. A lean, mean killing machine. This 800-pound leopard seal is an icy water bully. Second only to the killer whale among top Antarctic predators, leopard seals love to prey on penguins. But they have a problem. Leopard seals are excellent swimmers, but their size makes them slower on land, and the penguins like to stick to the ice. So the seal hangs at the ice edge, keeping an eye out for his main course and waiting for the right moment. When a few brave souls go for a dip, he makes his move. He rockets forward at speeds of 24 miles per hour, barreling through the water, causing a sea of chaos, and then takes advantage of the bedlam. One penguin is just a snack for this 10-foot seal. So he heads back out to lurk and wait. These ocean Goliaths don't look like a menacing mob. Humpbacks are known as the ocean's gentle giants. Tell that to their prey. The humpbacks are setting the stage for a massacre. They might look peaceful now, caring for their young. But summer means feeding time, and these heavyweights need to satisfy their massive appetites. After a 5,000-mile commute from Hawaii, they arrive at their destination, Southeast Alaska. Home to the all-you-can-eat fish buffet. They use two tactics that would seem harmless: singing and blowing bubbles. But with humpbacks, the combination is lethal. On one side of the shoal of fish, one whale creates a wall of bubbles. On the opposite side of the shoal, another whale sounds the battle cry. The famous song of the humpback is a death knell for its prey. The fish flee from the uproar and collide with the wall of bubbles. They see the bubbles as a barrier. While they're blocked, the blower swims around them, surrounding them in a bubbly prison. With no other way out, they head for the surface to escape. Right where the whales want them. In this ring of death, dozens of humpbacks will feast. They have no teeth, so they swallow their prey whole. Each whale can spread its jaws more than 13 feet wide and swallow hundreds of fish in one gulp. Its throat and chest are lined with 30 wide ventral grooves, allowing it to open its mouth as wide as possible to take in hundreds of gallons of water, swimming with prey. They may gorge themselves like this twice a day during the feeding season. Fish gotta swim, and whales gotta eat. Even the slickest of sea dogs can become fish food in these treacherous waters. On high seas, or just off the coast, beware the devils of the deep. In the animal kingdom, there are a certain set of rules. But things are not always as they seem in this circle of life. Advantages are won and lost. Hunters become the hunted. And even the prey can become vicious, as they all bite, claw, and even maim in their fight to survive. Surviving in the land of the Sahara is hard enough. But what happens when your dinner bites back? Or friends turn to foe? The African lion. Of all the group hunters on Earth, these are among the biggest. In their African homeland, lions sit at the top of the food chain. Most of the time. Females do most of the hunting, while males rest and protect territory. To survive, lions rely on teamwork. A time-tested strategy will be used against the warthogs. One female will get as close as possible and then drive the prey to another, ready to ambush. Lions have great vision. The brightest sunshine won't blind them, and in low light, they can see 6 times better than humans. And their other senses aren't too bad either. They can hear prey from a mile away. And their sense of smell is so keen, they can tell how recently prey passed, big or small. Lions will take on a meal more than twice their size. A full-grown zebra can weigh nearly half a ton. One kick from those hooves can break a lion's jaw. They're sprinters, not marathoners. They can hit 35 miles an hour, but only for a few seconds. So they team up, approaching their prey from different angles. Zebras learn to keep their distance. But one zebra is about to violate the first rule of a safari. Always stay with the group. The lion will go for the typical death blow, crushing the windpipe. While the team keeps their prey from getting away. Of all the world's cats, lions are the only social animal, especially at dinner time. After a kill is made, males always eat first. Then the females. What's left goes to the cubs. Often, not enough. Most will not survive into adulthood. Like most young mammals, lion cubs start out pretty cute. But in the time it takes a human baby to learn to walk and talk, lions must go from cuddly to killer. In a little more than 2 years, young females will be expected to help catch food for the pride. And young males must be skilled enough to kill and feed themselves. The real lessons begin on the first day of school. Watch and learn, kids. Mom is a finely tuned hunter. She shows the kids how it's done. First, stealth. Then speed. And finally, power. But she doesn't kill this buffalo calf. She drags the injured beast to her cubs to use as practice. It's a vital lesson in the art of survival. Not all lessons come this easy. Some have to be learned the hard way. By their first birthday, the young hunters are eager to try catching their own prey. Not that they're ready. Baboons can be a tricky catch because they hide out in trees, but this little cub hasn't figured that out yet. The clever monkey's happy to teach its own kind of lesson. Never stand under a baboon with a full bladder. The next test is joining Mom on a hunt. This young female shows enthusiasm. A little too much of it. She forgets lesson number 1, stealth, and charges too early, spooking the herd of zebra. As they mature, the teens become star athletes with 500 pounds of muscle, a top speed of 37 miles per hour, and 2-inch canines to rip into prey. Mom's lessons have paid off. The cubs now realize the full power of their weaponry and killer instinct that is their birthright. Lions need up to 15 pounds of food per day. So for the pride to endure, they have to keep hunting. Some prey calls for the whole team. Cape buffalo are truly big game. One lion can be outweighed 5-to-1 by a buffalo. To take it down, the lionesses need reinforcement. The pride's male could weigh twice as much as a female. This is no random gang-up. It's a coordinated attack. Distract the buffalo, then go for the hindquarters to bring it down. But a Cape buffalo rarely goes down without a serious fight. The Cape buffalo is one African grazer that can throw its weight around and go toe-to-toe with the so-called king of the jungle. These enormous beasts may be relatives of the cow, but they're anything but docile. They've earned a reputation among hunters as aggressive and extremely dangerous foes. Lions have faced this threat for thousands of years. The big cats may be the buffalo's main predator, but every encounter is dangerous and unpredictable. The powerful buffalo can toss a 400-pound cat in the air like a bouquet at a wedding, often with deadly results. This pride has caught a young calf. Like all cows, Cape buffalo are herd animals, so mess with one and you mess with them all. The fearless adults advance, forcing the lions to retreat. This one is lucky to escape with its life. It's too late for the calf, but it isn't over yet. Mobs of buffalo have been observed going after lions that have killed a member of their herd. This pride is resting and digesting after a successful hunt. They're blissfully unaware that they're being stalked themselves. The pride contains 10 cubs, too young to know that danger is close by. By the time the adults realize what's going on, it's too late. The buffalo's fury is unleashed on the confused and helpless cubs. Lionesses try desperately to distract the rampaging buffalo. But the lions are outnumbered and outmuscled. Eventually, the buffalo lose interest, leaving the mothers to call for their cubs. Only 7 respond. 3 have been killed. The survivors have learned a valuable lesson. Even the king of the jungle should steer away from the world's most dangerous cows. It's not just lions that have been on the wrong end of a buffalo horn. These vegetarian giants are anything but laid-back cud chewers. They're nicknamed widowmakers because they reportedly kill more hunters in Africa than any other animal. They have poor eyesight and hearing, but make up for it with an extraordinary sense of smell. A group of Cape buffalo hunters approach a watering hole, searching for a fellow hunter. What they don't know is a fierce buffalo has caught the hunter's scent and is about to show him exactly how it feels to be hunted.
Shoot! Shoot, he's gonna get him! Shoot! Shoot! Shoot!
Despite his bruised ego and 110 stitches, this man was extremely lucky to survive his close call with the Widowmaker. And it's not just the Cape buffalo that are fighting back. Africa is transformed by night, when the deadly predators dominate the darkness. Leopards enjoy a big advantage: exceptional vision and hearing. They're also great climbers, so they have the ability to keep watch over rivals from their treetop cache. They're solitary and territorial. Any other leopard is an unwelcomed guest. And these cats are not afraid to fight. He's defended his turf, but lost valuable hunting time. He doesn't have to prowl for long before an appetizer appears. But before the first bite, another leopard moves in on his catch. He'll have to hunt again if he wants to eat. He lucks out. A herd of impalas grazes in the distance. If even one of them senses danger, all of them will flee. Good thing for the leopard, he is downwind and the impalas are nearly blind in the dark. A suffocating bite to the windpipe makes for a quick kill. But can he hang on to this meal? The air is filled with the cries of an oncoming hyena clan. One leopard against a clan of hyenas is not good odds. He could lose his dinner again. The best defense is a good offense. It's a long way back to his tree with this heavy load, but it's worth it to try to keep this kill for himself. The leopard can carry a carcass even twice its own weight up a tree to keep it out of reach from other predators. Dinner at last. But what happens when the leopard finds itself being stalked? In some countries in Africa, regulated hunting is a big business. Unfortunately, game hunters consider leopards a prime trophy. Although they're beautiful, they're also one of the most dangerous animals to hunt. By day, they sleep in the shade where their spotted coats blend in perfectly with the surroundings. A person could get within 10 feet of a leopard and never see it. At night, both their vision and hearing are far superior to humans. A leopard will know where you are before you even have a clue. These hunters are out looking for their prize. The hunters provoke the leopard to flush it out. Suddenly, the 160-pound cat emerges from the brush and gives it all he's got.
This is a bad one.
Get the watch off, get the bangle off.
The hunter survived, but he's living proof that when you try to hunt a leopard, you may end up trading its life for your own. For some in Africa, not all of your neighbors will play by the rules. Big cats may rule the African plains, but the rivers and waterholes belong to a more prehistoric beast. The Nile crocodile, weighing up to a ton, but moving with barely a ripple. It's supremely adapted to ambush along the water's edge, propelled by a powerful tail and sporting one of the strongest bites on Earth. With his signature death roll, he drowns and dismembers his victims by sheer force. For most land animals, venturing into the water is an enormous risk. But in Africa, there is one hulking beast who won't back down. The hippopotamus. Their name comes from the ancient Greek for river horse. They're a bit chubbier than your average thoroughbred, but in the water, they're almost as graceful. Much of their time is spent placidly floating around. You might even think they're lazy, harmless, and kinda cute. But don't be fooled. Hippos are among the most dangerous large animals in Africa. Adults can weigh nearly 10,000 pounds, but these beasts can really move when they want to. Males are highly territorial and often battle to the death. Anything that enters their stretch of river is taking a big risk. Most of the time, hippos are tolerant of their reptilian neighbors. Until they're not. One careless croc has found itself in the middle of a nightmare. They don't want to eat it, just squash the giant reptile like a bug. For this croc, his final death roll may be his own. But hippos don't just fight with crocodiles. These giants are anything but gentle when it comes to fighting over water or females. And they use their considerable size and teeth to make their point. Hippos kill more people in Africa than any other large animal. When it comes time for a regime change, these fearsome herbivores can be downright brutal to each other. Dominant hippo bulls usually preside over a territory that includes a pod of females. This old male is king of this stretch of the river and has the battle scars to prove it. But a young bachelor is ready to stage a coup. And he gets right to the point, biting off the old male's tail. Hippo teeth are formidable weapons. The 4 tusk-like canines can grow up to a foot long, and they're razor sharp. Those jaws can open 4 feet wide and snap closed with a bite force of almost 1 ton. Strong enough to take out a powerboat. Add that to a 500-pound head, and it's like facing off with a very angry armored tank. Already injured, the senior doesn't even try to overcome his attacker. For 45 minutes, the young male continues his assault. He only stops when the old leader submits to his rule, allowing him to mount him in a show of dominance. It's the ultimate defeat. The old warrior has lost his tail and his harem. The new king of the river opens wide to proclaim his victory. The old alpha male slinks off in defeat. He may have lost the battle, but to other predators, he's still the king. The stocky Goliaths aren't the only ones to throw punches in the name of love. In the battle to win a female's heart, it's not always about who's the strongest, but who really sticks their neck out. The kingdom of the giraffe appears to be a quiet one. Standing up to 19 feet, they are the tallest mammals on Earth. And without making much of a sound, they roam the African savanna munching on trees. Giraffes seem calm, secure, and able to avoid much of the animal warfare below them. But in the animal world, looks can be deceiving. Roaming the African savanna, these tall, spotted, and handsome bulls strut their step, lick their lips, and search near and far for females. Inevitably, two males are going to set eyes on the same conquest. But therein lies the problem. They can't both have her. Unlike some other animals, giraffes don't use claws or teeth to attack. Instead, they fight with their 600-pound necks and heads. Without warning, one of the giraffes lands a surprise neck jab. The attacker shows no mercy, slamming him repeatedly with jabs that can be heard over a half-mile away. The fight is brief, but certain. And the victor giraffe takes what he's rightfully won, the female he desires. Giraffes aren't the only animal to stick their neck out over a girl. Battles over females can be dangerous, especially if a father is protecting his own daughter. For this young male zebra, the grasslands of Botswana are paradise, when they're full of food, fun, and fillies. But a single bachelor doesn't just get to walk up and woo his lady. He has to fight for her. Zebra herds are made up of smaller family units, consisting of 2 to 6 mares, their foals, and 1 stallion. The mother keeps her foals close. The stallion also protects them from predators and other zebras. But no father can keep his daughter from flirting with boys. A young filly is ready to mate, and a bachelor stallion plans to win her affection. To mate with her, he'll have to entice her away from her father's herd. But this stallion isn't about to let his filly run off with an unworthy upstart. To get past him, the suitor will have to show his strength, speed, and cunning. If he doesn't win this time, he'll just have to try again. This is the only way to establish his own harem. He tries to neck wrestle the older stallion into submission. The battle continues into the night. After hours of tussling, the two exhausted stallions call a truce. And the young one gets the girl. But he'll need to stay fighting fit, or other bachelors may try to steal her away. The urge to mate is usually the source of conflict within the ranks, and the competition can be fierce. It's not just predators and prey that have to be careful in Africa. Elephants are a must-see for tourists in Africa. And most visitors don't think of them as scary, like leopards and lions. But that's not always the case. Elephants are now responsible for about 500 fatalities each year. The elephants can be aggressive in defending themselves and their young. A group of tourists stop to marvel at a mama elephant, her youngster, and a relative as they graze on acacia leaves. The mother elephant becomes agitated. When she sees her youngster frightened by the snapping cameras,
Oh God, what's that?
things start to turn ugly.
Oh.
The car was turned on its side and punctured by her tusk. Both passengers and the elephants survived the run-in. Elephants aren't the only animals that are having more contact with humans with tragic results. Rhinos are another animal you may not want to run into during an adventure in the wild. The rhinoceros has literally been around for millions of years. They even look prehistoric. Adult rhinos have no natural predators, so you'd expect Africa to be filled with them, right? Wrong. These unique creatures are on the brink of extinction. Poachers kill them for their signature horns, which are actually thick matted hair. They're used in Asia for medicine and as dagger handles in the Middle East. A rhino horn on the black market will sell for more than $80,000 a kilogram. In a drastic measure to protect them, conservationists will sometimes saw off the rhino horn to make them less of a target of poachers. Because of their poor eyesight, rhinos can't always see who is friend and who is their enemy. They will fight back the only way they can. They charge. With a thunderous weight reaching upwards of 7,900 pounds, running at speeds of over 40 miles per hour, you don't want a rhino seeking revenge at your expense. These tourists learn this the hard way when they sneak up on a pregnant rhino. was killed, this time. For thousands of years, predators have been hunting their prey. But despite the hunting prowess, the prey is still able to flip the script. Cheetahs are smaller, lighter than lions, and are built for speed. This cheetah can spot gazelles, its favorite prey, from 3 miles away. She accelerates from 0 to 60 miles an hour in only 3 seconds. With one powerful bite, the cheetah clamps down on the windpipe and strangles the gazelle. A textbook kill. But not all hunts are this easy. This cheetah sizes up her next meal. Just another routine kill. Or is it? The gazelle is fast, but no match for the turbocharged cat. Latching on is easy. Bringing it down, not so much. The cheetah hangs on desperately, while the powerful gazelle refuses to go down. Then it counterstrikes and slams its assailant into the ground. The moral of the story? Speed is in everything. And gazelles are not always an easy lunch. Gazelles are not the only ungulates that fight back. Wildebeest rely on their massive numbers to take away their predators' advantage. Like a mass of invading medieval warriors, the wildebeest of East Africa march 1,800 miles across the vast Serengeti plains. Their mission? To reach the Masai Mara, where greener pastures of vegetation and food await them. For the most part, it's a peaceful march. Wildebeest are, after all, herbivores. But when it comes to reaching their final destination, a stampeding pack of more than 1 million has no time to worry about who or what ends up beneath their hooves. As this legion continues on its epic journey, crossing plains and rivers, its numbers swell. Inevitably, the deafening sound of millions of pounding hooves attracts unwanted attention. The weariest, the old, or the very young are targeted. But the herd keeps moving. When they reach the Mara River, it's a group effort to get across. A wildebeest crossing alone is vulnerable. But as a stampeding force, they have an upper hand, or hoof. The wildebeest make it safely to their destination. Proving once again that in an army, it's all about strength in numbers. Nature doesn't always play by the rules. You can never tell who's hunting whom. Who is your friend? And who's going to steal your mate? Predator or prey, allied or divided, every day will bring a new fight and new outcome when the tables are turned.